6:42 p.m. A quiet suburban street. A man pulls into his own driveway after a long day of work. 30 seconds later, he's gone. No screams, no gunshots, no witnesses willing to talk. Just an empty car, engine still running, ticking in the dark, and a family that would spend the rest of their lives trying to get the man back they lost, even after he came home. If true crime stories make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, you are exactly where you need to be. Welcome to CrimeFlux. Hit that subscribe button right now, because tonight we're uncovering one of the most calculated, coldly executed suburban kidnappings in American history. Like this video, drop a comment telling me which part shocked you the most, and let's get into a story that proves the most terrifying crimes don't happen in dark alleys. They happen on streets that look exactly like yours. November 1974, Long Island, New York. Picture it. Trees line streets dusted with the first cold of autumn, porch lights flickering on at dusk, kids on bikes, neighbours waving from driveways. This was the kind of neighbourhood where people still left their doors unlocked, not out of carelessness, but out of genuine, deeply held belief that nothing bad could reach them here. That belief had a name. It was called safety, and on one Tuesday evening in November, it was stripped away in less than half a minute. Michael Levin was 43 years old, successful textile distributor, husband, father of 3, children who look up to him the way kids do when their father seemed invincible, like someone the world simply cannot touch. He had built a good life, an honest life, and every evening he came home the same way, down the same street, onto the same driveway, through the same front door. Routine, predictable, the architecture of a stable life. But someone had been watching that routine, studying it, timing it, and on that Tuesday evening, they were ready. The abduction. Michael pulled into his driveway just before 7 p.m. The neighborhood was quiet, the way it always was at that hour. That in-between time when dinner is being made and the world holds its breath. He noticed the van immediately. Parked across the street, engine off, out of place in the way that your brain registers something wrong before your conscious mind can name it. That flick of unease. That half second where instinct screams and logic says no, you're being paranoid. Michael didn't have time to listen to the instinct. 2 masked men moved towards his car with the speed and precision of people who had rehearsed this exact moment. One swung something hard against the driver's side window. Glass exploded in woods. The other pressed a gun against the side of Michael's neck. Before he could process what was happening, they dragged him out the car in under 20 seconds. Think about that. 20 seconds. The time it takes to pour a glass of water, to check your phone, to say goodnight to your kids. His car engine was still running when the glass hit the pavement. A neighbour heard it, that sharp, violent crack, and looked outside, but the street was already empty. The van was already gone, and so was Michael. The phone call. Inside the Levin home, the hours between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. must have felt like drowning in slow motion. Where was he? Why wasn't he answering? The calls being unanswered, the growing terrible weight of silence that doesn't feel right. At 9:13, the phone rang. The voice on the other end was calm, distorted, deliberately altered, mechanical, inhuman. It didn't shout, it didn't threaten with rage, it simply stated facts, the way someone reads a weather report. We have your husband. He is alive. Follow instructions or he dies. The ransom demand was $750,000 in cash. No marked bills, no police, no deviation from the instructions. In 1974, $750,000 was a staggering sum, the equivalent of several $1 million today. This wasn't a crime of opportunity or desperation. This was organized, calculated, professional. These men had done their research. They knew what Michael was worth. They knew his schedule, they knew his address, his habits, the exact window of vulnerability in his day, and they had exploited it with surgical precision. While his family sat in terrified silence, Michael was somewhere entirely different. A basement, underground, concrete walls that absorbed the sound the way a grave absorbs everything, completely, finally. No windows, a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, casting a weak, sickly light that did nothing to fight the darkness pressing it from the corners. He was chained to a metal pipe, blindfolded for most of his captivity. His sense of time collapsed almost immediately. Without natural light, without routine, the human mind begins to unravel its most basic anchors to reality. Hours feel like days, silence feels like pressure. His captors spoke rarely. When they did, they whispered, but never used names, not their own, not his. They were ghosts operating in a system, and they were terrifying good at it. They fed him bread and water, sometimes canned soup, open and handed over without ceremony. They weren't cruel for the sake of cruelty, they were businessmen. Michael Levin was an asset, and assets are maintained until the transaction is complete. That clinical detachment may have been the most frightening thing of all. Michael's wife followed every instruction. No police cars tailing her, no wires, no tracker hidden in the bag. She moved through Manhattan in the dead of the night, carrying $750,000 in cash, doing what any person does when the person they love the most in the world is being held in the dark. Exactly what she was told. At exactly 2 a.m., she placed the bag inside a locker at a Manhattan train station, closed it, walked away, and then nothing. 14 hours of silence, no confirmation, no proof of life, no reassurance that the exchange had been received, that the deal was honored, that Michael was coming home. Just 14 hours of waiting in silence so heavy it must have felt like it had physical weight. This is where the psychological cruelty of the crime fully reveals itself. The money was already gone, and the family had no leverage, no way of knowing anything, no choice but to wait and trust the world of men who had already proven they were capable of anything. On the 7th day, Michael was moved. Blindfolded, driven, he had no idea how long or in which direction. When the vehicle stopped, he was guided out into the cold air. He could hear wind, distant traffic, trees. They removed his chains. One of his captors leaned close enough that Michael could feel the warmth of the breath near his ear, and said quietly and with almost certainty, "If you go to the police, next time we won't let you live." And then they were gone. Michael stood in the dark, blindfold still on, in a wooded area, somewhere near a highway. He pulled the blindfold off, found the road, stood there, a man who had just spent 7 days changing in a basement, disorientated, altered, alive, and flagged down a passing truck. He was alive, but as his family would later come to understand, alive and whole are two entirely different things. The FBI launched a massive investigation. Fingerprints were partial and inconclusive. Witness descriptions conflicted with one another. The van, the one that had sat so deliberately, so wrongly on that quiet street, was never found. Suspects were questioned, leads were pursued, and then one by one they went cold. No one was ever convicted. The ransom money was never fully recovered, but the investigation, the lack of resolution, the unpunished crime, these were almost secondary to what happened inside the Levin family in the years that followed. Michael came home, and his family held on to that fact like a life preserver. He was there, he was breathing, he was present, except he wasn't. Not entirely, not the way he was before. He developed severe anxiety. He avoided basements. Any room below ground level triggered something deep and physical, a panic his rational mind couldn't override. He couldn't sleep in complete darkness. Sudden, unexpected noises, a car backfiring, something falling in another room, would send him into a state of alert that took long minutes to bring back down. He survived the kidnapping, but some part of him had been left chained to that pipe in that concrete room, and it never fully came back. His children in later years described in the words that are achingly precise, "We got our father back, but we never got the same man." 7 words, and inside them an entire family's grief. That quiet street in Long Island still exists. New families live there now. Children play outside, the houses look the same, the neighbourhood looks safe, because neighbourhoods are supposed to look safe. That's what they're designed to do. But the people who lived there long enough, the ones who remember November 1974, they know something the new families don't. They know that safety is something, a story we tell ourselves, that it only takes 20 seconds to shatter the most careful built illusions, and that crimes that haunt us longest aren't the ones in dark alleys. They're the ones that happen under porch lights, on familiar streets, in the 30 seconds between pulling onto your driveway and walking through your front